The world knew Ali the fighter, the champion who floated like a butterfly and stung history itself. But the legend left behind a secret far from any boxing arena, hidden behind a locked door in a place no one ever expected. And today, we step inside. For what waits in the dark could challenge everything we thought we knew about him. The rise of a force the world couldn't ignore. Before the world understood the full depth of Ali's eventual silence, he stepped out trembling at the 1996 Atlanta Games to light the Olympic flame, and the world erupted in emotion. In that moment stood Muhammad Ali, the three-time heavyweight champion who had once exploded onto the global stage like a supernova. He was the most charismatic and controversial sports figure of the 20th century, a living flashpoint who helped define his turbulent times. Ali consistently surpassed his athletic prowess. The boxing ring was merely a stage, a spotlight that revealed a whole universe inside one man. This side of him showed a sharp mind, a lively personality, and a bold confidence that came through in everything he said. These traits, coupled with an evolving set of personal convictions, forged a magnetism that the ring alone could not contain. He was a champion who entertained as much with his mouth as with his fists. When he spoke, the world leaned in, whether in shock or in fury. But every legend has a beginning, and Ali's came long before the bright lights and global spotlight. The story of Ali begins in Louisville, Kentucky. Born as Cassius Clay, he grew up in the 1950s, a decade ruled by the rigid and unfair Jim Crow era, where African Americans had few opportunities. His family wasn't struggling to survive, but they weren't rich either. They were just a working-class family within Louisville's black community. Cassius was groomed to follow that path. But a single event, a twist of fate as some would say, changed the direction of his life on an ordinary, rainy afternoon. At just 12 years old, Cassius rushed into a local building to escape the downpour, leaving his bicycle outside. Upon his arrival, the stolen bicycle had vanished in an instant. That loss changed everything. Cassius reported the theft to a policeman, and, still burning with anger over the theft, he told the officer he wanted to fight the thief. The policeman, seeing the fire in the boy's heart, asked him if he knew how to fight. Cassius realized he didn't. The officer, like a gatekeeper to destiny, said, "Come with me." He led Cassius to a police-sponsored youth boxing club. What Cassius saw there was a revelation. Blacks and whites fighting each other as though color segregation didn't matter. The gym was an oasis where skin color dissolved in the sweat and dust. Right there, the young man saw his future. That chance meeting and that stolen bicycle set him on the path to Olympic gold in 1960 in Rome, and eventually to becoming one of the all-time boxing champions. 4 years after his Olympic triumph in 1964, the loud, excited, and confident 22-year-old stepped onto the world stage with an upset victory over Sonny Liston to become world champion. The press, dazzled by his speed and his mouth, nicknamed him the Louisville Lip. Right after this huge win, the champion dropped a surprise that shook the world even more than his boxing gloves. He announced he was changing his religion to Islam. He rejected his old name, Cassius Clay, saying it belonged to a past he no longer identified with. Instead, he took the name Muhammad Ali. The black religious group he joined, the Lost Found Nation of Islam, bestowed upon him this new name. Ali called himself the greatest. Ali had a profound impact on the sports world. He was one of the most divisive superstars the world had ever seen. In the 1960s and 70s, Ali faced both admiration and vilification due to his personal convictions that transcended the boundaries of boxing. His stance became political declarations. His conversion from Christianity to Islam, his rejection of racial integration at the height of the civil rights movement, and the dramatic changing of his slave name, Cassius Clay, to one bestowed by the separatist black sect he joined, the lost-found Nation of Islam, were not quiet affairs. The conservative establishment perceived these actions as serious threats. To the liberal opposition, they were noble acts of defiance. All of these choices didn't just shape his image, they set the stage for the biggest clash of his life. The most famous confrontation with the American government and the wider political establishment came in 1966 with his declaration about the Vietnam War. "I ain't got nothing against the people in Vietnam." His refusal to be drafted during the war transformed him instantly from a celebrity athlete into a government target, a political lightning rod. This was only just the beginning. Ali demonstrated his ability to adapt and reinvent himself. As a bubbly teenage gold medalist, he parroted America's Cold War line, lecturing a Soviet reporter about the superiority of the United States. Only a few years later, he had become a fierce critic of that same country. His life was a dizzying performance of contradictions. As civil rights activist Dick Gregory said, "He lived many lives for a lot of people. He gave voice to millions, showing defiance when others could not. He was able to tell white folks for us to go to hell." Yet the champion was not without his inconsistencies. He considered himself a race man, someone devoted to black pride. Yet he would mock the skin color, hair, and features of other African Americans. Most famously, he repeatedly called his formidable rival, Joe Frazier, the gorilla, a cruel taunt that Frazier never forgave. The pain and bitterness remained long afterward. If there was a super title to Ali's dramatic life, a phrase that explained his every move, it was the one he made the morning after winning his heavyweight title in 1964. It became his personal manifesto, informing every aspect of his life, including the radical way he boxed. "I don't have to be who you want me to be. I'm free to be who I want." And that mindset showed up everywhere that mattered, including in the ring. The way he moved in the ring shook those who loved the old boxing style. Critics said he kept his hands too low. Rather than allowing punches to slip past his head by bobbing and weaving, he leaned back from them, seemingly defying gravity and sense. But his approach eventually prevailed. Over 21 years, he won 56 fights and lost 50. His famous fast feet dance in the ring may have been pure show-off and flair, but the rope-a-dope, where he leaned on the ropes and let his opponent punch until they got worn out, was a smart and powerful strategy. It was the move that won him the Rumble in the Jungle against George Foreman in Zaire in 1974, regaining his title in one of boxing's greatest upsets. And just when it seemed like his story couldn't get any bigger, his influence stretched far beyond the ropes. Ali used his fame to fight racism, religious intolerance, and celebrity culture. He inspired people everywhere with his message of pride and believing in yourself. As Ken Burns stated, he was arguably America's greatest athlete, and his unflinching insistence that he be unabashedly himself at all times made him a beacon for generations of people around the world seeking to express their humanity. He loved attention and loved people, finding that boxing filled all his needs. He did what he loved and became one of the most important athletes of the 20th century. But even a man who gave so much to the world needed a place to recharge. Even the most powerful fighters need somewhere to lay down their armor. Ali had such a place, quiet and untouched by fame. And what waited behind those gates was nothing short of extraordinary. The sanctuary of the greatest Muhammad Ali owned many things in his lifetime, carrying the weight of greatness with a confidence that shook the world. But nothing matched the quiet power of the place he escaped to when the world grew too loud. His 81-acre Southwest Michigan estate, which was listed for around $2.9 million back in 2018, 2 years after his passing, still stands like a peaceful giant. For such legendary ground, the price almost feels like the estate is holding back a grin, daring someone to understand its worth. Ali, once the loud, cocky boxer nicknamed the Louisville Lip, needed a place where the spotlight couldn't find him. This gated Berrien Springs farm became his perfect shield. A mile of the St. Joseph River and the dense forest surrounding it created a sense of seclusion, allowing Ali to escape his immense fame and experience genuine tranquility. His getaway home was not extravagant in any way. It was a humble hero's hideaway, showcasing only what he needed: 4 cozy bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, tight security, and, most importantly, solitude. The gorgeous property is practically staged for idyllic nature walks, a world away from the punishing ropes of a boxing ring. "It's so tranquil out there," said Mitchell, the real estate agent handling the sale, giving the farm a personality all its own. He called it an unbelievable, one-of-a-kind property. After all, he noted, you're not going to find a mile on the river that feeds into Lake Michigan anywhere else. The expansive estate is a true beauty, bordered by the river on 3 sides, and features a circular drive, shady trees, vegetable gardens, and quiet ponds. But this tranquil haven has a wild history. Built in 1900, the estate was once a favorite spot for crime. Louis' Little New York Campagna, gangster Al Capone's notorious lieutenant bodyguard, owned it from the 1920s. Mitchell shared a strange tale. Campagna's original, much larger residence burned down mysteriously in the 1920s, leading to a rebuild where the former barn became the main house. Later, Ali took the carriage house, a quaint guest quarters with a sunroom and deck overlooking a pond, and turned it into his personal office complex in the 1970s. The farm's deepest secret, however, was its healing power. Ali purchased the property around 1975, supposedly after visiting the town of Benton Harbor and falling in love with the land on the spot. Inside Muhammad Ali's sacred retreat, the Michigan farm was not just a home, it was a recovery ward for a champion. Following the most brutal wars of his career, like the Rumble in the Jungle against George Foreman, the Thrilla in Manila against Joe Frazier, and 2 championship bouts against Leon Spinks, Ali retreated to this quiet corner. The farm's serenity worked its enchantment on his body and soul, giving him the space to recover from the exhaustion of being the greatest. On the grounds, the main house offers a generous 3,960 square feet of living space, complete with an imported tile kitchen and a 3-car garage. The estate held everything that mattered to him: space for his cars, room to train, water to unwind, and above all, the boxing ring where the greatest truly felt at home. But the clearest sign of how much this land meant to him appears right beside it. Once upon a time, Ali trained for his huge fights in a barn on the estate. After his storied career ended, that same barn became a silent treasury, storing some of his vast memorabilia collection. Ali's office complex, situated adjacent to the gym, was a fortress of his fame, featuring a conference area, a mailroom, a vault, a full kitchen, and auxiliary offices. This spot was among the places where the deeply religious boxer would pray, work, and read fan mail, with French doors opening onto scenic patios, connecting his deep inner life to the quiet outer world. The champ invested in pricey upgrades for the gym, pool, and office in the late 1970s. The secluded farm's location was strategically convenient: a short drive to South Bend, an hour and a half to Chicago, and near a local private airport, keeping him connected while maintaining his distance. The main house, almost 7,400 square feet, is a giant building that still looks exactly the way it was first planned. Inside, it's filled with beautiful things: wood panels carved by hand, special slate floors, 5 cozy fireplaces, and warm wooden ceilings. This huge home is a true and untouched example of the original design made by the architect, Donald F. White. An expert explained that it is rare to see a home where the original materials, engineering innovations, and aesthetic integrity are all still present. This grand building combines luxury and comfort into one sweeping experience, offering fine cooking, space for leisure, room for fitness, places to unwind, and over 3,000 square feet of outdoor decks, a testament to the enormous life the champion lived within the walls of his quiet Michigan sanctuary. However, despite the tranquility this sanctuary provided, it guarded a sound much louder than silence, as a single unassuming door on the property left behind a legacy of written words that the world will never forget. The Hidden Archive. Ali left behind. While Muhammad Ali's voice was once the loudest sound in the 20th century, his deepest thoughts were preserved in silence, tucked away in quiet blue ink. These pieces of handwritten correspondence, certified and protected long after the cheers faded, proved that the man who roared about fighting was just as devoted to prayer and service. One letter, found resting on the elegant stationery of his Michigan retreat, Muhammad Ali Farms, was a warm message to Wayne Smith, the president of the Friendship Force. It had nothing to do with knockouts or titles. Instead, it breathed kindness. The champ's bold blue signature stretched confidently across the page, as if it carried its heartbeat. He wrote, "Thank you for the toys. When the heart sings, I love it very much." But Ali never simply signed off. He added lessons like he added jabs. His postscript rang like a lifelong motto: "Service for God is the rent Wayne pays for a room in the hereafter." A second letter to Wayne Smith, written on the back of Smith's own note, carried the same spiritual rhythm. Ali wrote, "Thank you, Wayne, for all you are doing for the work of Allah. God, love, Muhammad Ali." And as if sealing the message, he added, "The fruits of the life after death are the consequences of the deeds done in this life." These pages, still in excellent condition despite small stains and foxing at the edges, revealed the soft, religious heart of a man the world usually saw only as a warrior. Ali also stayed connected to those who admired him. In 1988, he wrote a letter to a fan named Pete, offering a simple promise as direct as a jab. "Hello, Pete. Soon I will start the Muhammad Ali Fan Club, and I want you to be a member. I will get back to you when I am ready. Thank you, Muhammad Ali." The date, November 18, 1988, appeared directly under his well-known closing line: "Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth." That line made its meaning unmistakably clear, but this time he included a little glowing heart, turning an ordinary fan reply into a tiny treasure. But the most powerful story, written in ink, was the one explaining his great life change. Around 1968, Ali wrote to his then-wife, Khalila Camacho Ali, explaining why he had converted from Christianity to Islam in 1964. The 2 sheets of torn white paper, covered in blue cursive, held the private version of a moment the world only saw from afar. On the first page, he described a night in Louisville, Kentucky, when he met a man selling the Nation of Islam newspaper, Muhammad Speaks. He had never heard of the paper before. The second page continued the memory. The seller invited him to a meeting he did not plan to attend, but Ali still bought a copy of the newspaper. Inside it was a cartoon that stopped him cold. It showed an enslaved person being punished for praying in Arabic, while a white slave owner ordered him to pray to Jesus instead. That simple drawing, carried in the folds of a newspaper, became the spark that connected Ali to a new set of beliefs that shaped the rest of his life. The Kaplan Archive, an enormous collection divided into 13 major sections, held these letters as only a tiny part of its treasures. In just the second section alone, there were waves of fan mail from 1976 to 1982, written in English by people from Africa, Australia, and many other regions. Other folders contained letters in several different languages, showing how far Ali's influence stretched across the world. Some even came from behind the Iron Curtain, sent by admirers living in the Soviet Union and Yugoslavia. From his biographical file to the 13 boxes on his professional fights, stretching from his amateur debut in 1959 to his final fight in 1981, the archive showed that almost every moment of Ali's life had been recorded. Among the documents sat 2 drawings made by Ali himself, proving that his pen had worked almost as fiercely as his fists, leaving a legacy inked as deeply as it was fought. The archive held thousands of moments, frozen in ink and film. But one part of Ali's story refused to sit quietly in a box. It lived in recordings no one outside his family had ever heard. The Quiet Man's Diary. The fighter who roared in the stadium kept a private, gentle world hidden at home. This secret side of Muhammad Ali, the devoted husband and father, was captured not by bright television cameras, but by his voice on audio tape. In the 1970s, as his stunning boxing career began to slow down, Ali reached for a tape recorder, mostly in his LA home. He began recording a series of audio diaries, creating a personal history that detailed the family's everyday adventures, a life full of pain, laughter, and love. Hana Yasmin Ali, his daughter, used these private tapes, along with personal journals and never-before-seen photographs, to create an intimate, behind-the-scenes portrait of her father. She revealed a man who was admired and respected as the greatest sporting icon, but who also strove to embrace a new purpose: an ambassador for peace and friendship. Ali, who was constantly trying to find balance with his many commitments, went to extraordinary lengths to keep all 9 of his children united. These diaries and journals share the everyday adventures the family experienced, all so normal, and yet not, especially when movie stars like Clint Eastwood and John Travolta or music legends like Michael Jackson came dropping by. A fine collection from his former wife, Belinda Ali, supports these precious memories. This Muhammad Ali presentational scrapbook and photograph collection from the early 1970s included nearly 100 photos of family members, some with celebrities like Smokey Robinson and Bobby Darin. The collection contained significant and personal material, including images of his pilgrimages to the Arab world and rare, one-of-a-kind images that will never be seen anywhere else. It was a treasure trove that chanted, "Ali, Ali, Ali." The collection even had newspapers, plane tickets, and a 1964 photo by Howard Bingham with his notes on the back. Later in life, Ali collaborated with his daughter Hana on his autobiography, The Soul of a Butterfly. Hana, in her chapter of the book, shared an experience with her father, and reflected on what she had learned from him. This unusual, scrapbook-style memoir looked back on his life in a thoughtful way, showing that the champion's heart worked like a writer's desk, just as much as it worked like a boxing ring. So was the champion's true treasure hidden in a stack of paper rather than a pile of gold? Which part of what they found in Muhammad Ali's home surprised you the most? Was it the private letters, the hidden recordings, the family photos, or the quiet world he built far from the spotlight? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoy this video, please check the channel for more videos like this.